Okay, here's my how-to on how to subtract mixed numbers. We have a problem for this one. Kim buys 2 3/4 yards of fabric. She cuts 1 1/8 yards to make a dress. How much fabric is left? So we see that she starts with a certain amount, and we see that she's removing some of it. So we know this is subtraction. So we're going to be taking 2 3/4 minus 1 1/8. Again, we need to make sure that our fractional parts are the same. We have unlike fractions, and we need to find common denominators before we can subtract. So what I like to do is also see, is one of these fractions, does one of them have a denominator that is a multiple of the other? And I do see that 8 is a multiple of 4, which means I can change my 3/4 on 2 3/4 to have a denominator of 8. In order to do that, I need to take my 3/4 and multiply it by a factor of 2. So I'm going to multiply 3/4 times 2 halves. And remember, I always have to multiply my numerator by the same number that I multiply my denominator by in order for them to be equivalent fractions. So now I will have 6/8, which is equivalent to 3/4. Now that my denominators are the same, I can subtract my fractions. I want to also represent this as a model before I subtract. I would draw the amount of fabric, the total amount of fabric that I have first. I would start with my 2 whole yards. So each bar represents a yard, and then I need 6/8 of a yard. So I want to shade in 2 whole and then I want to shade in 6/8. And again, I can easily see how my 3/4 to begin with, there's my 3/4, is the same as 6/8. I multiplied that 3/4 by 2 halves, split each of those fourths in half, and now I have 8 equal parts, total of 6 shaded in, 6/8 right there. So with subtracting, it's a little bit different. I do not need to draw this model, but I want to show that I'm going to be taking it away from what I started with. So if I cross off the amount that I'm cutting from the fabric, so I'm going to take away 1 1/8. I can remove 1 whole yard, and I'm also going to now remove 1/8 of a yard, which leaves me with a total amount left of just 5/8 of a yard and just 1 whole yard left up here. So I have a final answer of 2 minus 1, which was 1 yard, 6/8 minus the 1/8, which is 5/8. 1 5/8 yards of fabric was left.